Hey gang, so today we're looking at something sent to us by Meta EDC to have a look at, and it is drenched in nostalgic goodness. It's the GameCube slider by GEEONE EDC in titanium blue. It's priced at $170, and if you use the code TheFidgetFix, you get 10% off. So far this has to be one of my favorite kind of side turning fidgets, and I'll tell you why when we get under the camera. I'm not gonna tell you now, you gotta wait. But, there is something about this that sounds so good. They have dialed this in. GEEONE EDC has done such a good job with this. It's got a little maze. There's a maze inside. Not only that, it's controllers, sort of. They're buttons. This thing is loaded with fun. How much fun, you say? Let's find out. Let's get, oh my God, that was terrible. But let's get this on the camera and have a look. It is the GameCube. Let's go. Okay, here we go with the GameCube. Now, this is a really, really fun fidget. And one of the things I want to do is show you something. We're going to get to the accessories that come with it, or the tools, the extra things in a second. But I want to show you the fun stickers you get with this. I don't usually go through the stickers and sort of show you what we get sticker-wise. I tend to just keep my stickers. You'll notice if you've ever bought anything off of me, there are no stickers included because I keep them. I like stickers. But look at these great, colorful, awesome stickers. Let me move that we get with this. I mean, just awesome colors. So much fun. And the fun is sort of all part of the experience of this slider. Like it's really well designed. Ooh, let's turn that the right way. It just, the energy of these sticker designs, and I know I'm going on about stickers, but just, these are great. I love these. I love this little extra attention. Sometimes we get really, really awesome stickers. Sometimes we just get the same old kind of, you know, the same thing shoved into the envelope all the time. I mean, again, with GEEONE EDC, I have so many GEEONE EDC stickers. However, these I have not seen yet. These are just a really, really nice look. So it was just worth talking about. Okay, so let's get right into this thing. This is nostalgic goodness. And we are going to start by going into playability. Okay, playability. Well, there are three ways we can play with this. One is the most obvious. This is a mechanical slider, but man, oh man, have they dialed this in. I have reviewed a bunch of these sort of side push to open kind of sliders. The feeling on this is so, so good. Awesome work on this one, guys. This just feels great. The minute I picked it up and I tried it, I was like, wow, okay, I get it. Second is we have a maze. So you can see the little ball. Now this maze goes nowhere. That's the only thing that is, you know, kind of a shame, is that it would have been nice if there was actually like a little payoff at the end of it, but it's still fun just to kind of push around. I mean, I guess if you consider that arrow the end, maybe you start from over here and you want to get to the end. So you know what, I guess we could do that. Now, I'm not going to make you sit and watch me use this. It's probably very frustrating to a lot of you, but you can see that it is something where when you're fidgeting, if you get bored, you can actually just, you know, draw your attention to a completely different part of this fidget and just hold it and just play with it that way. So that's a lot of fun. Now, third, we get our click buttons. Obviously, they don't do anything. I mean, you can't really expect them to do much, but this is kind of a Game Boy style, you know, little Game Boy style controller. If this was like your little screen. So again, they've thrown so much nostalgia at this that it's awesome. I love this thing. Even the maze. The maze is very close to what I would have had as a kid. Like a lot of these little maze games that we would just play with all the time. So somebody who put this together clearly had an eye for 80s toys. Very much 80s or 90s toys, I guess, depending on your controller and stuff as well, right? Like the Game Boys and things. Fantastic. This is a real joy to play with. But again, its main feature, the winning one, is that. Like, wow. Awesome. Okay, sound. Well, again, we've been listening to it, but let's really focus on sound for a second. So this is the mechanical. This is one of the smoothest mechanical sliders I have listened to. It is so good. The smoothness, the clicking, the crispness, like, it's awesome. These little buttons, they're there, but I would have liked to have gotten a little more out of it, a little more clicking, like something a little louder and snappier. Like if you're going to put that in there as a feature, you know, don't make it muted. Give me a good click. Now I'm really like punching on this, but it would have been nice to have a bit more of a snap to it. But overall, still a win. Haptics. Well, haptics, again, this is part of our mechanical kind of, we get a really nice zipper feeling going on. So it's a very steady set of clicks. There's not a lot of space in between each click, so you get this constant feeling. You know, this one long drawn out click. Again, kind of going back to like a zipper or like, you know, dragging your fingernail across a comb. The haptics on the click, same with the sound. They're okay. They're there, but you know, would have been nice to get a crisper haptic feel to it, a nice snap. The ball, obviously you get really nothing from the ball. You're not going to feel that bouncing around in there. Okay, ergonomics. Surprisingly, this I find a little too big. It's a very large slider, and we'll see in the next section the you know, the weight and the measurements. But just to hold it, this is titanium, so it is meant to be lighter, but I do find it is somewhat heavy because of its size, especially opened up. Like this is, you know, this is the palm of my hand, and it's taking up the entire palm of my hand. I understand that this is probably designed this way for the maze and for the internals, but I think it could have been made a little smaller. Now, I know we typically complain about the opposite thing, which is usually these fidgets tend to be designed too small, and we'd like them to be bigger. This one I just find, I would say medium-sized hands, and it's just a little too big. Sometimes it gets a little harder to manipulate. It gets a little tiring because of the size. So it's just, I'd say just slightly on the big side. Okay, let's get into the weight. Now again, this is titanium, but it's a lot of titanium. So we are at 74 grams, or, oops, did that wrong. Zeroed out again. So 74 grams or 2.6 ounces. So this is what I mean when I say it's a heavier piece. It's a big piece of metal. And it's got these two layers of it, right? So of course this is doubled up. And in size, let's look at the size. So let me make sure I've zeroed everything out here. So we are at 42 millimeters. Now that should be the same either way, which it is. And thickness, 13. So 42 by 13, or if we switch that over to inches, we are at 1.7 inches. wide and about 1/2 inch thick. Okay, internals. Now this is where we pull out the tools. So it does come with our own little, call it a little, I don't know, is it a screwdriver? Not really, but it's a tool to open things up. You will see we have replacement items in here, spring, we've got what looks like a Zerk ball, and we've got these tiny little white beads as well, which are for our maze. So let's get into opening this up. Now, the first thing we're gonna do, I have to admit, I haven't opened this up yet. I'm looking inside here and I see that we've obviously got a track, got magnets, and oh, I see in here, there is a hole that pops this lid off. So let's take a look at that first, because I'm guessing this whole face just comes right out magnetically. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna be careful because I know there's a ball in here. Yeah, so this just comes right off. There we go. Now I understand, I guess what you could do is put a whole bunch of balls in there. Why don't we do that? Just because I don't think this is really going to be much in terms of, you know, a maze toy. Like, yeah, you can move the one ball around, but to be honest, I think it's just really more of a fun little gimmicky thing. So if we just put multiple balls in there, maybe we'll get kind of a fun rattle out of this. There we go. So with that on there, I can see that these magnets, we have 3 magnets here. They're going to stick to the plate. So I am going to make sure I'm lining up the pivot point with the hole. I have that right. And I'm going to hold my plate down so that it doesn't pop up. There we go. See, with all those extra balls in there, I get a bit of a rattle. So I'm going to keep it like this just because why not? And it makes it a little more chaotic, which is kind of fun, actually. Okay, so let's get to taking this apart. Now I see we've got our little screw here and we've got our tool. I'm going to close this up to bring it back to its starting position. Now I do know, of course, we've got springs and balls in here, so I'm going to be very careful when I open this up. So inside here, now this is also what these extra balls are doing, clearly, is we also have this track, and that's part of, I guess, what makes this run so smoothly. It kind of prevents you from tightening this too much. It's a really smart addition, these little kind of extra balls inside, because a lot of times we close this up too hard and it'll grind right against the surface here. It also acts as a replacement to a bearing. So again, usually or I shouldn't say usually, but there are times where we see a bearing in here that lets this whole thing function smoothly. In this case, we have these balls doing it. So that's actually pretty neat. Okay, let's see, by lifting this off, what are we releasing? So we've got 2 balls in here. Now, I want to turn this over to see what the other side is like, but I don't want to lose these balls right now. So I'm just going to put my finger over it so you can see what's happening. So this post right here is what slides along. Oh, no, sorry. This post slides along this little inner track. This ball is what locks us in from one spot to the next. And then this ball is what gives us our nice little mechanical zipper feel. Now I could put a second ball in here, which I think I'm going to try. Again, though, I'm being very careful with holding my finger on here to keep these other little balls in place. So now we have two balls that are going to go along the track. And we have this ball that's going to kind of go along the inner track, which sort of lets it lock in. Okay, now we're going to put this whole thing together. Now we do have a bearing. We can see we've got a bearing inside here, as well as these little balls on top of the screw. So when I said this replace the bearing, I guess it doesn't. Of course, we still have our bearing here, but it does give you kind of an interesting spacer to prevent you from over tightening. Now I don't see a way in to lifting up this lid, but it does move. You know what? Let's have a look at that. So what do we have here? Oh, there we go. Little tap. It comes right out. Wow. Okay. That's kind of cool. So what we have here, and again, this is pretty common, these little dishes. So I'm going to need to make a bit of room here. Now I'm going to get a couple of pairs of tweezers, and one is going to be very precise because these little dishes have to be manipulated in a specific way. You can see them on here. The challenge with this kind of thing is that they're also magnetized. So what do we have? Well, we have these buttons. And they just have these little kind of poppers on them, like here. So they're meant to push into, yeah, see, there we go. So you can see they have these little plungers on the end of them. Right there. Well, here, we've got one that's popped out. So this little piece in here, this side pushes against, oh, you know, that little end pushes against the convex part of these tiny, tiny little circles. So these circles are kind of like a spoon. So they have a bit of a curved inward, like a hollow side, like a spoon side, and the outer side. And when you push down on it, they just make a popping sound. And that's all that is. So these end up sitting. Well, they love magnets. Now one seems to have gotten away, but that probably means it's stuck on something. Or we've got one stuck to the other. So let's just kind of work through this and we'll see. So this is going to be easier to work with if we take the whole thing apart like this, because then we're not dealing with these magnets kind of attracting our little switches. So, you know what? I'm going to change things up and I'm going to switch to a plastic set of tweezers so that the button does not want to stick to the tweezer tip. And now just to test them to make sure you've got everything facing the right way, we just give it a little. Okay, so I just noticed, and these are really, really tricky. There's an extra button sitting on top of this magnet. So getting it off is always a bit of a trick. And actually, the only reason I even saw it is because I have a loop. So that these kind of, I find this important to have. This is something that's really never a bad idea to have. It's just like a jeweler's loop, just so that you can look at fine detail. I was looking for this extra dish. I couldn't find it. And then I noticed this looked a tiny bit off. And when I looked through the loop, I saw that it had 4 little sort of pinholes on the top, which is what these things do to these. So I knew that that's where our little guy, there he goes. So you see he was disguised. Oh, you little rat. Okay. So you gotta be really careful with these. They, because they're just such thin metal, right? They are completely at the mercy of the magnet. Well, there we go. Okay, so we have our 4 pieces on. Now, what we are looking at is this. We want to put this together and try to keep it together so that when I put this plate back in here, our little dishes don't sort of want to go flying to the magnets in the corner. So what I'd love is to have this all as one piece. I don't know if that's really going to work out well, though. So the first thing I can try is, let's just see if it'll go in like this. I suspect these are going to go flying to the corners, but we'll see. And I was right. So you see how they all lift? So that is important to know before you start down this path. Okay, so now we're back. Now what I am going to do is try to lay this down on top first. Because this really seems to be the only way to get this all back together. Okay, that works. I just want to make sure that my letters are straight. Now I'm going to put my cover over top. Now my hope is that because this is together, I can pop this in here. There we go. And nothing separates now. Yeah. All right, so that's step 1 of putting this back together. Now, normally you would not ever have to go through that much pain to put this back together, as long as you're not lifting that little piece open, but it's good to know that you can do it in case one of those little dishes ever breaks or it stops clicking, or maybe you want to find a louder, I don't know if they make louder kind of, you know, those little buttons. So again, we're going to try this with 3, or well, sorry, there's always, this one's always there, but I'm going to add 2 in the track instead of 1. Again, I'm going to be careful because I have little balls in here. Close this down. And actually that jump, because the magnets are in here, actually sort of caused a couple of these to pop out. So I'm just going to put them back in. There we go. Yeah, that's louder. I don't know if it's an improvement, but it's definitely a change. So that's actually kind of cool. Being able to double them up like that. And now I have all these crazy balls bouncing around in my maze. That's pretty fun. I do like how this whole thing is put together. The dishes, the button dishes are a little tricky, as we saw, but really you don't want to get in there too often anyways. Okay, gang, well, we finally made it to final thoughts. This is a hit. This is great. No real complaints other than it's a bit too big. I'd love to see this a little smaller, but with it being smaller, you kind of lose this ability, right? If it was too small, you wouldn't really be able to interact with it in this way. So I kind of get it. Like it's almost designed to let you hold it like this and kind of relive those fun little memories. So yeah, this is great. I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's well designed. Nice little, pretend little battery cartridge on the back here. That's cool. It's a really, really good slider. So again, you can get this at Meta EDC. It's like $169.95. And if you use code FidgetFix, you get 10% off. All right, gang. Thanks for watching.